state building.
Hey, it's Garrett. I got the chance to sit down with the cast of Godzilla vs. Kong. What an awesome movie. Got to talk to the entire cast, including star Alexander Skarsgård. Where were you when you first got that call to join the Monsterverse?
I was at home in New York. Adam Wingard, the filmmaker, and I, we've known each other for a bunch of years, and almost made a movie together like 6-7 years ago. And I just really liked the guy. He's a fantastic filmmaker and a lovely dude. And so we basically said like that movie never got made, and but we kept in touch and said like it'd be fun to find something to do together. And then I got the call. I was at home in New York like probably 3 years ago, and I hadn't done a big tentpole like matinee type like event movie since Tarzan, which was 5 years ago, and worked mostly on smaller, slightly more cerebral, independent, like character-driven pieces.
Right.
Which had been extraordinarily fulfilling, but that itch was back. Like I wanted to go do something big and fun and crazy and wild and unpretentious. And so when this opportunity came up to go and work on something as wild and crazy as Godzilla vs. Kong with Adam, who's a fantastic filmmaker and a great guy, I felt very excited and jumped in.
I mean, night and day, I'm sure, in the comparison of technology from like Battleship versus Kong now. I mean, like, have you seen the difference of, just technology in general with CGI from doing a big movie at the time like Battleship versus Godzilla versus Kong?
Yeah, and even from Tarzan, which was just 4 or 5 years ago, to this, it evolves every year. It's leaps. It's just crazy how fast technology evolves and the progress we're making. So, and it's again, it's a very different way of working from when you do something like Big Little Lies or Little Drummer Girl. So
by the way, Big Little Lies is so I binged it. Quarantine. What else are you doing? Right before I've got to see this film, I had to watch this film twice because my first go around with Godzilla vs. Kong, I was so like upset with you, and credit to you for being a great actor from season 1 in Big Little Lies. I couldn't like stop looking at you and just hating you in such a way. Like so I had to go back and like kind of have a palate cleanser just to go watch it again, just to clear my mind of your character as Perry.
Trust me, I've gotten that reaction from a lot of people. I remember I was shooting when Big Little Lies aired. I was up in the mountains of just north of Calgary shooting a movie. And so I was very isolated when it premiered for 2 months. And I remember flying back to New York, and I hadn't really been around people for 2 months. So I remember landing at JFK, and just the looks I was getting was basically the one you just gave me. Like people looked at me and like,
well, it's a typical New York welcome home. That's a typical New York welcome home right there. But but with that too, I mean, we've seen season 2. I mean, flashbacks and a possible season 3 or maybe prequel with Big Little Lies. I mean, the world. Is there anything that you could lead us on with that there could be possibilities?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't think so.
I thought you were gone after season 1. Then I see you in season 2 here and there as sporadic, dreams and memories. And so,
trust me, so did I. Like it was an incredible experience to do that. It was obviously very tough and emotionally draining, but to do work on material that's so great with the finest actors in the world is,
of course,
what a treat.
And then again, with that,
when they were going to do the second season, I was obviously, not going to be in it for, considering the end of the first season, what happened.
Right.
So I was very surprised, but super happy to be able to come in and do a little thing there. But I have no idea what's going to happen.
You never know.
It's like season 2 comes to like a conclusion in a way. So I feel like it's probably done, but who knows?
You never know. That's the beautiful thing about this business too, and any hope too of bringing Eric back to screen for the reboot with True Blood.
again, I think that,
Fans are saying because of Godzilla, Kong versus Godzilla, that you're too big. Your career has gone so far that you can't turn around and come back and bring back a beloved character.
it, out of all the characters I've ever played, Eric is, you know, arguably the, you know, closest to my heart.
Of course.
Played the dude for 7 years, and I love him, and it was the most incredible experience. On, and I, you know, I think it all. I have no idea. I haven't heard anything. I haven't read anything.
Right.
So it's like it's quite hypothetical to. It all depends on the situation, the kind of who's involved, and what's the storyline, what's the, you know, what. But
Of course.
yeah.
Well,
So it's
I loved it. So it goes for me. It's Eric, Dr. Nathan, and then that guy Perry. That's in my you know, a mix of everyone right there. Sorry, but I want to know, what's it like to join such a universe like the monster universe. I mean, we have Marvel universe, all the epic love adventures out there. To be a part of the monster universe, what's that like just as an actor?
It's crazy. I never thought that I would be actually part of this franchise at all. I think that, I grew up more like, I want to be a princess, maybe, or,
Me too.
more girly stuff. So being part of something like this is really exciting. And I also, I really enjoy that the character gets to be fun and kind of goofy. I feel like the world, it's all about Godzilla versus Kong, so it allows you as an actor to just loosen up and have fun. And I like it. I like that she was sort of very smart, very clear, and an independent, cool character, but at the same time, she just doesn't take herself too seriously, and the comedy lies in her sort of denial of the reality and the situation and Kong and Godzilla, and I had a lot of fun.
And as an actor too, I mean, to see how your character plays out, is it part of a bucket list of like, this is an interesting way to see how my character finishes off the movie without trying to give anything away as I walk that fine line?
Totally. That was one of the big reasons. I just felt like it was such an homage to the originals, and but it kind of spinned it around and put it in its head. And I thought that's cool. It feels like of a less I also felt like it felt less of a damsel in distress situation, and the character felt very, all the female characters in this movie feel very smart and
Right.
independent and cool and crucial to the story, and no one's saving anyone. If anything, they're saving them, which I thought was really cool because we've seen the
Right.
opposite for the longest time.
Well, it's interesting too, because right before I got to see this film, I watched I Care a Lot too on Netflix, because that's how it was. It's been in the top, it's one of those films that sits in the top 10 for weeks. And you're like, all right, you know what?
I'm gonna watch it.
It's in the top 10 for a reason. So I might as well too. So to see your character play out like that, it's very interesting that you described it that way, because without your character Fran in I Care a Lot, it's the same way. It's like, without her being there, even though I don't know if you're bad or good, but still.
She's not as bad. That's
She's
what
not
I
as
say,
bad.
like comparatively speaking to everyone else in that movie. But it is true. I mean, characters are the important thing, especially movies like Godzilla versus Kong, right? Is how are you going to connect to the audiences? How are the audiences going to feel things for the character? Because they're still the main characters, and they have to have a beating heart. And
Right.
I felt like they did such a good job with the way that they wrote this script, because they made these two really innocent young girls the beating heart of both characters, and we all connect with our childlike personality. And I feel like that innocence that comes through, and the love and the genuine heart that they feel, the things they feel for them, gives us more love for the big characters. So it actually catapults us into a place as an audience where, like, we're actually having to root for one another because we are invested, we're emotionally invested into them.
Did you ever think, though, reading the script and getting the idea, by the end of it, you would have this heartfelt feeling that you watched an action movie, but walk away with, this movie has a form of heart to it?
Yeah, no, not at all. And that was that's what really got me when I read the script. I thought there was multiple things about the script that felt right. It was the inclusiveness. It felt really organic. It felt like, okay, they were assembling a cast that felt like the real world without being a racial card or
Right.
a forced introduction. It just felt like this is the world we're living and this is how it looks like. And, you know, someone like Damian Bichir and Eiza González could be running the biggest company in the world. You know, it has nothing to do with where they're from. And that's how I feel about the world. Secondly, I felt so connected, invested, and invested with the emotions of the story, even though I wasn't expecting that, because I don't think that we had that in the previous films. We had it slightly on Godzilla, the last one with Millie, but I think this was like full force in that
Right.
sense. And
Agreed.
thirdly, it had really smart female characters, and it felt like, as we said, all the female characters had a real purpose and felt earnest and felt not like an additional thing to the movie, but the actual beating heart of the story.
Well said. I couldn't even say it better myself. I'm not even going to try and mess it up like that. So I'm looking forward to, and I start after watching I Care a Lot as we wrap up. I could see a spin-off. I could see a part 2 of the film where you take
Yeah, it'd
over.
be hard.
Oh no, where you take over.
Oh, I am the.
Just saying,
cool.
let your people
Run with it.
I run with it.
Adam, so talking with Alexander, he was saying that you guys were trying to work on something about 5-6 years ago and just never worked out. What was that movie that you guys were tossing around?
Well, you know, like I think it was this script that Simon Barrett, you know, my writing friend who wrote Your Next and The Guest for me, we were originally attached to a film called Dead Spy Running. It was based on a book over at Warner Brothers, and I believe that was the movie. You know, what Alex didn't probably tell you is that, you know, like early on with The Guest, I sent him a copy of it and he turned it down. So, you know.
No, he was very politically correct in the sense of timing just didn't work out. We wanted to work together. So being in charge of the Monsterverse is not an easy task. I mean, watching this film, it seems like you could literally go as big as you want. Do you feel like you could have gone bigger if given the money and the time?
You know, I felt like we were able to do everything that we wanted to do in terms of like just the epicness. I mean, we cram a lot in 2 hours, you know, like we go all over the world. We go to Antarctica, we go to the center of the earth, we go to Hong Kong, you know, like we go to Skull Island, like we're all over the place. And so it's kind of amazing that we were able to do everything that we did, you know, even with a really big budget, because
of course,
you know, like in a lot of ways, it's like kind of the biggest of the entire series. And but it's not like we necessarily, you know, had a bigger budget than any of the rest of the films, you know. So yeah.
No, after watching it, because I had to watch it twice, because silly me, I binged Big Little Lies. And I watched the first go around of Godzilla versus Kong, and I totally I couldn't look at Alexander like in a right frame of mind, because my mind was still set on him just being total like, you know, jerk in Big Little Lies. Oh, so the second time go around, it was like a palate cleanse for myself. Yeah. Now, for me, the shock was, you know, watching a action-packed adventure movie. Towards the end, it felt weird having that like heartfelt part to it, you know, like it was one of those things I didn't expect as a fan to see. Was the same for you after seeing it all come together? Did you have that same feeling of this movie has heart at the end of the day, as much as you want to look, however you want to look at it?
No, I mean, that was really important to me. I mean, like, I think my favorite, you know, monster movies are ones that really make you feel something. And, you know, and customarily, I mean, I think a lot of these films, it's like, there's usually more of kind of like a sad, you know, melancholy thing that right. Some of these films, like a lot of the King Kong movies, make you feel. Even some of the Godzilla movies are, you know, pretty sad. If you look at the original, you look at Godzilla versus Destroya, which is one of my favorites, where Godzilla literally melts at the end of the movie, and it's like got the most depressing music ever, but it's like really effective. So I actually took a lot of lessons from those films, because I liked feeling emotions for something that's, you know, usually everybody says it's a big dumb monster movie and this.
Right. And that. Well, that's the thing. A lot of people go into it too, but once you get towards the halfway middle end of the movie, you go, there's more to it. Like, so it's like the quintessential, don't judge a book by its cover.
Well, exactly. And, and at the end of the day, it's like the movie's a popcorn film. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to, it's meant to take your mind off of the real world, but I think for it to do that effectively, you have to be engaged, not just with the human characters, but the monsters have to be characters themselves. And so I'm glad to hear that's coming off in that way.
No, it definitely is. It's weird when you learn a life lesson from King Kong and Godzilla.
So let's talk about the MonsterVerse. Like, out of all the work that you have done, like what separates the MonsterVerse aside from all your other projects? What makes it so special, do you think?
The opportunity to jump into a different genre, to explore a different type of movie making. I have done science fiction before, but fantasy, it's even a different step. It's a different level of movie making. I, as an actor, love that possibility of navigating in different waters,
right?
And being able to swim properly on in all of them.
It's funny using a water analogy with a big, water battle scene out there too.
Right. Yeah.
Now being like trying to separate yourself as the working actor on set and being a fan, like what were you just so amazed with such a big production, big budget like this, that even you had to step back for a second, like, wow, this is pretty amazing.
Ever since I saw the first films when I was a kid, I was fascinated by the idea of making something real,
right?
Possibility of that through the screen. And especially now, when you see these films these films are made in the best way. It doesn't get any better than movie making. Doesn't get any better than this. This is top quality in every sense. So when you see that on the screen, you can touch it, you can feel it, you can smell it. It's so real. So
I wouldn't want to smell Godzilla or Kong, but still.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
But that's precisely my point. You can feel all that. You know what I mean? And that's the magic of movie making. And it's so close to us when that happens.
Now, I don't know for you, but as a fan too, watching the film, going into it with the perception of, okay, this is fantasy, this is big. I mean, what's the reality of it actually happening? But by the end of it, speaking of Corazon, there was heart. I felt there was heart, towards the end of it. And do you agree? For you as an actor, did you feel that towards the end of the film?
Well, you touch a great point, because speaking of Corazon, we never thought it would be possible to transplant a human heart to another human heart.
It sounds like something would just be in the movies.
Yeah, a human heart to another human. And it was like science fiction when we thought about it back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, you know what I mean? And then it became real. So that's exactly what happens with these films, that you actually believe this could happen.
Yeah, and I walked away going, as much as I was into it and the action and the CGI, I was like, I feel like there's heart there. Like I just watched a rom-com at the end of the day of totally. I felt good. I walked away feeling good.
Yeah, because that's another great virtue that this script has. You get emotional and you get they touch you, it moves you. And I always root for Kong because he feels, and you see that he's feeling, and I think that's fascinating how they can create that on screen.
Only if Godzilla had some type of feeling. He does in a sense, but
only if Godzilla would not spit fire all the time.
Godzilla vs. Kong in theaters everywhere, March 31st, also on HBO Max.